Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Raw report for the 5th of October. Can't believe we're already in October. 2020. My gosh, this show was abysmally bad. Um, it's so funny. Takeover last night was one of the better shows I've seen from WWE all year, and then they put this out. It's almost like the heartbeat of the content of WWE is like mentally ill. They have some form of, really, really good stuff, and then they sabotage themselves, and then they struggle to get back on track, and then they have something good, and then it's like, and by no means am I making fun of mental illness, it's just something is wrong with the heartbeat of this content. Anyway, show opens, Randy Orton's in a uh, some sort of dimly lit room. Orton doesn't remember a lot of what happened when he went in the ambulance ride. He remembers being ambushed by Big Show and Christian and Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels. He remembers McIntyre putting him in the ambulance. And he says he felt nothing but darkness and pain in the moment. 24 hours after that, McIntyre celebrated with the legends that helped to put Orton away. And those legends even played poker and toasted two of his opponents tonight. Orton decides to repay the legends with the darkness and pain he felt at Clash of Champions. Orton basically runs down what he does to each one. He does mention telling Christian to say hi to Edge for him. Orton says he wishes McIntyre was there to witness all of it. McIntyre's bill is not yet paid and wouldn't be until Orton's again the world champion. Orton and said McIntyre could attain the legacy he wants if he could survive Hell in a Cell against him. Orton issues a challenge to McIntyre. McIntyre barges into the room and then attacks Orton. Interesting way to start the show. No reason this should be like 15, 17, whatever minutes. It was more than a full segment. Then we go to a throwaway women's tag match, 6-man tag, or 6-woman tag more accurately. Asuka, Mandy Rose, and Dana Brooke defeats Zelina Vega, Natalya, and Lana in less than 5 minutes. Rose and Brooke are wearing matching gear. Rose picks up a pinfall for her team with a knee strike on Lana. And I don't care what anybody says, Lana is being punished for Miro being in AEW. Anything else, and not that anybody who runs WWE listens to this or listens to anything, but I dare you, WWE, push her and prove that she's not being punished for her husband being elsewhere. Anyway, after the winning team left, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler make their way out, and they confront Natalya and Lana outside. Jax is going to put Natalya through the announce table. Lana saves her. Jax put Lana through the table instead, and this is for the third time in like less than 6 weeks. During the match, the announcers mention the draft and says the GM and officials are working stuff out ahead on Friday. Now keep in mind, I noticed this only because I saw it trending on Twitter. I now officially listen to all WWE programming on mute except for the promos because, well, the announcing has gotten me to the point where I can't listen to it anymore and enjoy the show. So Adam Pearce is supposedly stressing out over all this, according to one of the announcers. R-Truth has a whiteboard in the back, and he has a mock draft. He shows Bray Wyatt and his puppets. He has Vince McMahon going to SmackDown, and he thinks that Randy Orton is attacking him. So anyway, the custodian tries to attack Truth with a mop, but he trips over the mop bucket. Custodian pins him, wins the 24/7 title. He runs away. This is their poor attempt at comedy. I'm glad that Truth gets weekly work. He's a really entertaining guy, and the one time I met him, he was super nice. But at the same time, like, this is what they see you as? Okay, you poor guy. Like, you trained to wrestle to do this? Eh. Anyway, MVP meets with Mustafa Ali, Apollo Crews, and Ricochet. MVP downplays his loss last week, says they can win upon occasion, but they never win the war. He notes the importance of the draft and how a move to Raw helped Apollo Crews. Now, here's an interesting question. Why should I care about the draft when people go back and forth between shows without explanation anyway? Why should I care about the draft when talent isn't kept exclusive? Why should I care about the draft when there's 100 people under contract and maybe 30 of them get used? Like, I don't... This concept is so played out. It worked back in, 2003, 2005, whenever they started it, because they kept the shows separate. They've given up on doing that, therefore there's no point to the draft segments. Anyway, Rollins and Murphy enter for a match. They do a video recap of the whole Mysterio thing. And Murphy said he's done everything that Rollins has asked him to do. But if Rollins wanted to continue him to be his disciple, he needed to apologize. Rollins couldn't believe that he was being asked to apologize. And Rollins, Murphy didn't want an apology for himself. He wants the apology to Aaliyah. Rollins grabs the mic, yells at him. Rollins said he's the one who saved Murphy. So his loyalty to a guy should trump his attraction to a girl? I don't think that's how it works. And even if it was a same-sex relationship, attraction's supposed to trump loyalty, or loyalty is supposed to trump attraction when you're attracted to somebody who hasn't done you wrong. I don't think human nature works that way. Anyway, so Rollins again noted that he could have shown way more DMs between both of them, including ones where she states her feelings about Murphy and about her family. Rollins stressed that he is the Messiah and Murphy is the disciple. Dominic and Carrillo run out to the ring. They clear the ring. They go into a match. Anyway, match begins during a break. That's awesome booking. So we value these wrestlers, put their lives on the line so much that we start a match with them when no one's watching. Awesome. Anyway, so Rollins gains control. Rollins and Murphy have difficulty getting along. Rollins isn't happy about Murphy tagging himself in a couple times. Carrillo tags in, and then he takes them down with a crossbody. Back and forth for a match, and Carrillo wipes out both guys with a dive on the outside. Carrillo comes up, and he comes off the top on Murphy, and there's a midair V-trigger by Murphy for the pinfall win. Murphy basically walks away without Rollins there, and the match is less than 5 minutes. So we've had like 10-ish, maybe 15-ish minutes of wrestling in the first hour. Braun Strowman confronts Adam Pearce. He says he knew that Raw Underground wasn't happening, but he wanted a match tonight. Pearce said he wasn't on Raw, so he couldn't do that, but he could give him an exhibition. What exactly is the difference? Strowman doesn't know what that means, neither do I. Pearce said if he could find an opponent, Strowman could have an unsanctioned match. Why do we care? Sanctioned versus non-sanctioned. Strowman's happy with that. He leaves. Keith Lee happens to be nearby, and he said he would do it. We go into the second hour. Rollins confronts Murphy in the back. Rollins said he wanted Murphy to apologize to him. If he doesn't apologize by 10 p.m., there'd be hell to pay. So we now use bullying tactics on an international TV show to get someone to apologize for something they didn't do. Awesome. Anyway, then we go to the KO show, which is just more goofiness. Kevin Owens said that he's normally excited to interview people, said that it's true that you change when you deal with the Fiend. He knew tonight would be about having a chat, and they are a replay of Wyatt attacking him on SmackDown. Owens couldn't describe how bad the Mandible Claw felt, and he said he wasn't sure why these Dark Souls kept attacking him. Aleister Black and Bray Wyatt. Owens wondered if the Brood or the Ministry of Darkness would come out next. This was kind of cool. Like, I like the history reference stuff. That's kind of different, and they actually acknowledge that they're, older than, like, say, 5 to 10 years old, which is awesome. He calls out Bray Wyatt. Wyatt appears on the screen, and he says, Bonjour. I guess this is because, Owens is Canadian or something. Wyatt thanks him for having him on the show. By the way, this is a Funhouse segment. He says it's always nice to have new friends, whether it's to play catch or bury bodies together. I've never had a friend where I buried bodies, so that's a really interesting friendship. Then Wyatt sings a horrible song about friendship for Owens. Wyatt invites Owens to sing along. Owens isn't interested in this, and he said maybe they could have been friends, but the Fiend beat him up, and Owens said he's not going to get brainwashed like Alexa Bliss, and he didn't want to wait until Friday to fight. Owens calls him out to the ring. Wyatt says the situation with Bliss is none of his business. Technically, it isn't. I mean, haven't they already said that Kevin Owens is married in real life, so why does he care what's happening with Alexa Bliss? I mean, I don't imagine they were really close friends. And if you're married, then why is he caring like he's trying to flirt with her? So why does Kevin Owens care what Alexa Bliss is doing? We haven't had any depth to that. Anyway, that the issue between Wyatt and Bliss is between the two of them, and Wyatt basically says he has no idea. Owens has no idea what he's gotten himself into, but he'll find out on Friday. Owens wants to fight. He charges out of the ring. Aleister Black attacks him, lays him out with the Black Mass. I mean, there's good mic work between the two in terms of Fiend and Owens. I think they could have a program that's pretty decent, but they haven't started it very well. Charlie Caruso interviews Drew McIntyre. McIntyre said he beats up Orton every time he sees him. He accepts the Hell in a Cell challenge, and he said that Orton would be locked in a cage with him, and he'd send him to hell. So then we do an exhibition match where we further kill Keith Lee. As I do this review, I'm actually learning that there is virtually nothing on this show I liked at all. Probably the worst Raw I've seen in a very long time. Anyway, supposedly normal rules would apply to the match. They go 1-14. You have Keith Lee, one of the best big men in the last 10, 15 years, and you give him less than 90 seconds. So match goes double count out, and I will grab the phone and be right back. So anyway, this match sort of gets off to some sort of acknowledgement of a start. So match goes to a double count out. Lee hits a shoulder tackle. Strowman didn't budge. Goes for a second tackle, and he comes right back with a drop kick. Lee gets knocked out of the ring, and Strowman uses steel steps And then Strowman's angry and then tackles Lee through the barricade. Officials run out to stop all the chaos. Lee gets to his feet like nothing happened. So selling, I guess, is like a foregone art or only for big shows or something. Anyway, Lee drives Strowman into the video boards before spearing him off the stage. I don't know. Like, so we have a cluster mess to set up two big guys, but Lee isn't established. Strowman's a former world champion. Strowman can't manage to beat Lee, but Lee can't manage to get even with Strowman. So basically, what we have is two mean guys fight, and we're supposed to want them to do it again when they don't accomplish anything. I know there are going to be people that say this is about building a story, but if the story is it took less than 90 seconds for both of these guys to accomplish nothing but half kill each other, that's a stupid story. Anyway, so there's a new Bianca Belair video. She shows off how smart she is. She says she's the greatest of all time. She beats three women in a trivia game and calls herself better than Michael Jordan. That took guts. Anyway, Truth, Akira Tozawa, and Drew Gulak fight inside a dumpster. Truth emerges with the 24/7 championship. The dumpster would be a great place to leave the 24/7 championship. Anyway, so then we move on to the U.S. champion Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin with MVP defeated Apollo Crews and Ricochet with Mustafa Ali. They give this almost 10 minutes, 9:44, 9:43, somewhere in there. MVP cuts another promo. He blamed the loss on Retribution. He warned Teabag about the Hurt Business. And Crews and Ali and Ricochet interrupted. They make fun of MVP and blaming the loss on Retribution. In Retribution, the logo appears on the Tron. Ricochet interrupts his buddies because he wants to address MVP. And then Ricochet acted as though he might accept the offer from earlier to join Hurt Business. And he says it's a hard pass. He passes, and he laughs at the Hurt Business for believing him. Ricochet said he's not impressed with them and won't be anytime soon. Basically, so then MVP asks for a special beating to be put on Ricochet. They go to a break less than 2 minutes into the match. Ricochet and friends are in control when they go to the break. Lashley wins for his team. Crews taps out to the Hurt Lock. Ricochet could be heard telling them that they're going to keep going after them until they're tired of them. Hurt Business laughs. No Cedric Alexander again, so maybe he has COVID. Murphy finds Aaliyah standing in a random area in the back. So he says Murphy apologized to her. Aaliyah says he needed to worry about Rollins, not her. And she wonders if he's considering apologizing. He said he's not sure. And Mustafa Ali approaches the Hurt Business. They couldn't believe he approached them by himself, and they said he'd be alone in the ring later and invited MVP to bring Lashley and Benjamin so he could go after them. MVP is amused by this. Lashley was about to go after Ali, but MVP stopped him, and then we go to the Seth Rollins Murphy apology segment, which isn't an apology. Rollins enters the ring. He's somewhat happy. Rollins said he can apologize and they can move on from this. Murphy says nothing. Rollins tells him he knows what happens to people when they stand in the way of the greater good. Rollins made Murphy into the man he is, and all he needs to do is apologize. Rollins gets angry, and then Rollins grabs him by the beard, demands he apologizes. Murphy tackles Rollins, and they fight. They go over the announce desk. Rollins fights back. For a moment, Murphy got the better of that. Rollins tries to attack with a kendo stick. Murphy ducked and grabbed the stick and attacked. Rollins begs off, and Murphy hit him repeatedly with the stick. And meanwhile, Murphy's demanding he apologize to Aaliyah. Rollins calls out Aaliyah and apologized, but she's not there. Rollins is wearing a leather jacket as Murphy attacked him, so he takes the jacket off and apologized again to show he's sincere. Somehow a leather jacket leads to insincerity. Someone needs to tell the Fonz this. But anyway, Murphy believed him and dropped the stick. Rollins attacks him and gouged him in the eye. Rollins hits him repeatedly with kendo sticks. Rollins grabs a chair, but Aaliyah runs out. She goes and tends to Murphy. She begs him to stop. Dominic runs out to check on Aaliyah. Ray and Angie soon followed, and Rollins walked to the back. The family wondered why Aaliyah would do what she's doing. And then, so Dominic points to his father's eye to remind his sister what's been done. Then we go into a match proving that we don't have enough people that aren't affected by COVID, because Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler get approximately 10 minutes with Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan to retain the tag team championships. This was a horrible idea. Anyway, Baszler does do a pretty nasty arm spot, basically trying to break the arm of Ruby Riott early in the match, and there's wonder if the match would be stopped. Baszler continues to work the arm and is in control. After the break, Ruby ducks a kick, uses a schoolboy for a near fall. Morgan makes a hot tag, hammers away on Baszler. Jax makes the blind tag. Morgan sent her into the buckle, uses a Rana and running corner strikes on both opponents. Jax cuts her off with a clothesline. Ruby tags back in and gave Baszler a DDT. Morgan blind tags back in. Blind tags seemed popular in this particular match and used a double stomp for a near fall. Jax runs over Morgan before Ruby knocks down Jax with a errant kick out of nowhere. And then we go through a little more chaos. There's a little distraction that allows Baszler to catch Ruby with a knee strike, follows up with a Coquina clutch for the submission, and Morgan tries to make a save, but Jax stops her. Baszler into the hold after the match until Morgan basically breaks her off. Street Profits cut a promo on Randy Orton. They spoke of his admiration for the legends that Orton had attacked, and they stated that Edge and Christian taught them that they could have fun and still be champs, and they said they would go after Orton, and it won't be out of nowhere. McIntyre joined them, and they walk off together. Mustafa Ali versus MVP with U.S. champion Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. MVP is frustrated, so he brings out his charges to second him. Before they could attack Ali, the lights flicker. Out comes Retribution. And Slapjack, T-Bar, and Mace watch from the ramp. MVP asked Ali to join in fighting them. Fighting Retribution, that is. This is agreed to, then they fight. Ali leaves the ring and confronted T-Bar and Mace. MVP is happy to see this. Ali turns around and smirked at the Hurt Business. MVP realized what's happening, that Ali had joined Retribution. And then Retribution lays out the Hurt Business. So we have a faction war that nobody really cares about. Hurt Business is just barely getting over, but they're not really baby faces. They're not really heels. They're just kind of here. And then nobody cares about Retribution because they're all unknowns with Wookiee stories. Ali poses with Retribution, and that's that. And then we get a lame main event, 6-man tag. Again, we're just throwing matches together to fill TV time. There's absolutely no real story advancement in this. So Randy Orton, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode defeat Drew McIntyre and the Tag Team Championship Street Profits. Tell me why the Street Profits are in a main event, other than the fact the roster is weak. Tell me why we're giving away Orton and McIntyre on free TV when we want people to supposedly buy the network to see them do Hell in a Cell in less than 4 weeks. None of it makes any sense. McIntyre's in control, and Ford hits a flip dive. They go to break, and Ford tags in after the break. He goes wild on Ziggler. Roode tags in, cuts him off, and hits a spine buster. Orton's in, and they brawl over the announce desk. Orton makes fun of McIntyre. Ford gives him a DDT, and McIntyre tosses Ziggler around with a few suplexes. Ziggler's one of the best in the company, but he's so beyond repair it's ridiculous. So McIntyre attacks Orton, who isn't the legal man, and the other heels attack McIntyre. Dawkins blind tags in, and Ziggler super kicks McIntyre before Dawkins cradles Ziggler for a near fall. Ziggler continues with counters with a spinebuster into a DDT. Tag to Orton. Orton gives Dawkins a draping DDT. Dawkins makes a comeback. Tags Ford. Ford hits Frog Splash, almost pinning Orton. That would have not made any sense either. Roode and Ziggler break it up in a corner. Everyone does moves. McIntyre wipes out Ziggler with a Claymore kick. McIntyre is ready to go after Orton. Roode gets in the way. Roode eats a Claymore kick instead. Orton hits the RKO on McIntyre for the win. Match is fine, but we've already seen Orton and McIntyre a bunch of times, and there's no stakes to make anybody really care. Anyway, that's the end of your Raw report. Probably the worst Raw of the year, and we'll be back tomorrow. Also, going to have more updates on the World Class side. World Class is at its worst is better than Raw on most weeks, and that says a lot. That a program from 30 plus years ago with lesser talent can be better than a show they're getting paid millions of dollars per week to produce or per year or whatever. Anyway, until next time.